Ryan Smith, co-founder and CEO of LeafLink Inc. joins me now. Ryan, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Good. Ryan, LeafLink has come out of nowhere and suddenly is, like, that's quite a press release. It says in that you're serving more than 950 brands to 2,800 retailers in 16 territories in the U.S. Tell me about your business.
Yeah, so we've been hard at work here for just about the last 3 years building a B2B wholesale marketplace. And our entire goal is to really streamline how transactions happen between, as you said, retailers, dispensaries, and leading brands in the cannabis space.
Right. Okay, so you actually you supply 2,900 dispensaries currently?
So the way our platform works is we are a technology platform. So imagine there are brands and retailers like, for example, Kiva, Venice Cookie Company, Wana, that sell their products using our platform, and then they handle, the logistics and the delivery of that product. So we're not warehousing or physically selling it ourselves, but we're providing the connections online for people who are.
Ah, I see. So
Yep.
how does the economics work? Do you get a cut of every transaction?
Yeah, so there's a few revenue lines that we have on the platform. To date, we've been really a SaaS-enabled marketplace, so we charge a monthly fee to brands to be on the platform. We recently have now ad opportunities, as well as a few other revenue lines coming out around about moving capital. So there are some limitations around taking a straight transaction fee, so we haven't historically done that.
Sure. And how does your collaboration with Canopy Rivers work?
Yeah, so it's a really it's an exciting joint venture that we're excited to be a part of with Canopy Rivers, in that they have this incredible strategic network that they can tap into on, I think, over now a dozen countries that they are launching operations in with Canopy Growth. And then from our side, really exciting that we've built this technology with in hand all of our partners that are already live in the space and have been working hard to scale their own businesses. And so in this very complementary relationship now, we can bring all of those learnings on both sides to these new markets. That's really the goal behind it. It was a perfect strategic investment from both companies to help achieve that.
Fantastic. So then what is the next sort of stage of evolution for LeafLink and in the context of the Canopy Rivers partnership?
Yeah, so obviously now that we have these great partners with an international footprint, we'll be looking to and strategizing over the next couple months on how to open up operations and bring the things that we've created for the supply chain domestically to these international markets. And what's exciting about that is we're really now building in efficiencies that some of these international territories may not need to make mistakes over the next 2, 3, 5 years. We can bring them those solutions right from the get-go, and that will allow companies to continue to grow, mainstream the industry, and then which countries we pick. All this is to be determined and set out, but obviously Canada, Germany, UK are some of the ones amongst the top of the list.
Does the association with Canopy Rivers imply that you have to give Canopy Growth products a preferential treatment in the context of your relationship with them?
Absolutely not. So the whole reason this deal made sense from us as an ancillary technology company, as a marketplace, is that we are working with the venture arm of Canopy Growth, which is Canopy Rivers. So for us, they will receive no special treatment than any other partner investor that we have. Our goal is to really create this agnostic, fair marketplace. That's what we've done today and we'll continue to do. Now just alongside some new partners that have this complementary benefit we could key into.
So this is basically the infrastructure on the IT side for vendors of cannabis products to keep their supply chain running at optimum perfection?
Exactly. Like if you think about the way you or I purchase things online when we're home, B2C marketplaces are everywhere. And then we go to work and there are these really antiquated B2B legacy supply chains that there's no online marketplace to use. Part of what's exciting that we've created here at LeafLink, and we'll look to now move internationally expanding, is that you can go to work in this new industry and we will really begin creating and defining how the supply chain should work in a very efficient way, tech first. So like, what does that look like in 2 or 3 years in this very new space, inherently progressive, tech first community? That's what we're looking to build.
And I see you also have a human resource component in the form of your services marketplace listing. Is that a core part of the business, or is that something that you're just recently adding to the mix?
Yeah, there's a number of features that we're trying out. So services marketplace is historically LeafLink really connects brand producers, product producers with those retailers, physical items. We really have taken a bet on leading brands, CPG SKUs. But the services marketplace is a way more similar probably to like a Yellow Pages, where you can, if you're a lawyer or a consultant or some other, an accountant, but you serve the space, in pursuit of our goal of helping other companies grow that are on the LeafLink community, they can now go here and find vendors of those non-physical services. And that's what the services marketplace is. It's one of a number of new features that we launched that we're really testing the waters on to see if it makes sense for where the industry is growing, how LeafLink's growing.
Mm-hmm. I would think that this mix of incoming data from 750 vendors and 950 vendors and 2,800 retailers has got to generate a lot of data. And is there there must be a revenue stream coming from that too, I would think.
Yeah, it's a great question. So one interesting element of the data that we've processed now almost $1 billion in transactions on the platform, and within that we can begin to create some really powerful business intelligence tools for the community. So we recently released a white paper on pricing differences in all of the 15 different states that we're live in. We also now have case studies that are tied objectively to metrics and data that we can share, that companies that we work with are comfortable with us sharing. We get approval from everyone and everything so that we can help catapult the industry forward. And so, yeah, there might be an opportunity down the line to begin to monetize that. But for us, that really hasn't been the goal. It's how can we take the information we have, brush it up, streamline it, make it digestible, usable in a way for people that are using LeafLink's platform from the get-go.
Right. So this, your wholesale cannabis pricing guide is very interesting. There was another company that made an announcement today, I don't know whether you saw it, about a wholesale cannabis marketplace called Canamerc. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, so I think that name has come up. I mean, for the way we look at it is there's a mix of marketplaces and then quasi-marketplaces that are really more of like a commodities exchange. I think some of those things are a little too complex for where the industry currently is. That could be, an opportunity a few years down the line. But yeah, we try to, stay tuned in with the marketplaces that are popping up and those that make sense for us to work alongside. Like, we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We really want to own this marketplace portion of the supply chain, and then people that are building great other data tools, ERPs, whatever it might be, we want to work alongside them just to help our clients continue to achieve their goals.
So I've heard that the market in Oregon, for example, is 100% oversupplied with cannabis. And so from where you sit, how does that market evolve without wiping out half of the cannabis suppliers and causing it to be unstable in terms of price and supply?
We talk about this a lot at LeafLink. I mean, it's interesting when you think about how regulators are creating these schematics of how supply chains are to operate. There are a lot of examples of successful ones, or more successful than others, that they could emulate from other states. But for example, Oregon, like the example you just said, had an unlimited number of licenses effectively that could be gotten by anyone and everyone for a few $1,000s. And what that's done now is you have this crazy oversupply. Most other states we serve have limited license counts. And I think that is what the industry is in the market saying makes the most sense. The one, if we're being positive on how incredibly underpriced cannabis has become in the Oregon market, it's that we're starting to see now some movement by Oregon regulators for state-to-state commerce, just so that they don't let that oversupply go onto the black market. And so that could be an interesting positive progression, good from a bad type situation. But yeah, there's still a lot of learning that's happening in each state. And we want them to continue to speak to each other, because I think that's the best way everyone could learn faster, not make the same mistakes twice.
Sure. LeafLink is currently a private company?
Yep, we're a private company, headquarters in LA and New York. And we raised our Series A about 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm. So at some point, will you serve the Canadian industry? I mean, I guess it doesn't make that much sense given the fact that it's largely government regulated, at least government administrated and sold, or does it?
Yeah. Most of it seems that way. What we're starting to see, though, is in certain provinces, they're taking on a more quasi-private positioning, which will allow for stores and some brands to grow in the way we've seen them growing in the States. I think a lot of it is still being determined. What the question that a lot of these provinces are going to have to figure out is, there's only so much state capital they can use to open up the number of shops, the number of brands to yield the highest tax rate and properly regulate the space. So what we're hearing more and more is there will be exactly what you're saying, like not too different from liquor, vertically integrated distribution in these Canadian provinces. But on top of that, to help it grow even faster, they're going to be allowing some of this private capital to come in. And I think that's ideally where our position will be. But there's also potential to we work with regulators. We are trying to be compliant in every way possible to help them make their jobs easier and streamline the transparency they need to make sure everyone's following the rules.
Mm-hmm. Do you envision seeking a public listing on a public exchange at some point?
Like any other startup, if it makes sense, we'll do it. But we have a lot of growing to still do. Private markets are incredibly supportive of the efforts that we've set forth. So it's definitely not a near-term thing. We're at first, a technology company building great software for this space. And if we grow to the point when we do to publicly list, or it's possible in the United States, something we'll explore.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, Ryan, that's a great introduction to the company. We will follow you with interest. Good luck with your efforts, and I look forward to learning more.